I'm really excited to be presenting this to everyone today. And we did introductions, but for those who are watching the recording, and if you don't already know me, I'm Stephanie Fritts, the founder and chief exec wrangler of Exec Wranglers Virtual Assistant Services. And prior to founding Exec Wranglers, I spent over 20 years removing administrative worries from the hearts and minds of busy executives. And I saw firsthand how doing so freed them up to make a bigger impact. So we all know that delegation is a key factor in having harmony in both business and in life, but sometimes it's easier said than done. So today we'll break it down and we'll talk about levels and steps of delegation, and you're also going to learn what your zone of harmony is. And I am going to kick us off with a fun movie clip. Only if technology smiles on us today.
Sarah's doing her homework.
Mrs. Doubtfire said we had to.
Oh, she did. Doing your homework. Oh, great. Hi, honey. Look at this place. It looks wonderful. Oh, spick and span.
Dinner is served, madam.
Play.
All right, so before we dive in, I wanted to do a quick poll on how well you currently delegate. And for some reason, Zoom is hiding the poll thing. Huh. All right, so maybe just put in chat how well you feel that you currently delegate. Do you have it dialed in? You delegate with ease? Could you use a little bit of help in that arena? Oh, there it goes. It just came up, 4 on a scale of 10. Samantha says it probably depends on the project, and Jamie says that she struggles. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much everybody. Kate says it takes me a long time of struggling before I feel comfortable delegating. But once I do, I'm so glad I did. Yeah, I feel like it's the same. So hopefully this will break it up into, like I said, levels and steps, and it'll help you get to that delegation much quicker. Right? So that harmonious look on Miranda's face is exactly how we all want to feel in our businesses and in our lives. But what you didn't see in the scene just prior was Mrs. Doubtfire ordering takeout before plating it so beautifully. And she got the kids to do their homework. Did you also notice how happy the kids were to see their mom so peaceful and relaxed? They represent all of the people in your life who love and support you. Currently, you may feel a little bit stuck, but you already have everything you need to get unstuck. You probably also already know everything we're going to cover here, but I hope I'm able to present it in a way that takes the stress and overwhelm out of the way. Okay, so here's the obligatory agenda slide. These are the things we'll be covering today. why you should delegate, which speaks to less stress, empowering others, and freedom. What to delegate, where you'll discover your zone of harmony. How to delegate. Did you know that there are levels of delegation? And finally, we'll talk about when to delegate. And then just feel free to ask questions as they come up, and we'll have some time at the end as well. All right, so first let's dive into why you should delegate. Here is a fun quote. It's from a book by Jen Sincero, and the book is called You Are a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life. Jen says, delegate or die. You absolutely cannot grow a business, get promoted, or be a cool parent. And you absolutely will go gray before your time if you try and do every single little thing by yourself. Anyone else here try to do every single little thing by yourself? Yeah. All right, we're all in good company then. When Jen says delegate or die, it refers to a couple of things. First and foremost, your health. We've all seen or experienced the effects that stress and overwhelm have on our bodies and our emotional states. There are literally thousands of articles on this, and you've likely experienced it firsthand. Delegate or die also refers to your business or your job. At some point, your inability to delegate will be a barrier to your growth. Let me say that again. At some point, your inability to delegate will be a barrier to your growth. As an executive assistant, I saw this firsthand. Executives who struggled to delegate and ultimately experienced burnout, and executives who delegated with ease were promoted and thrived in their roles. As the founder of a virtual assistant services business, I now see this firsthand with small business owners. Those who freely delegate are able to grow and scale their businesses, while those who don't are frazzled, overwhelmed, and their businesses languish. One person can only do so much, and you can help way more people when you have support behind you. You know, that whole put your oxygen mask on first thing. Here is a fun illustration of before and after delegation. Once you learn to effectively delegate, your health and your business can be in perfect harmony. Delegation also allows you to take time away from your business or your job without jeopardizing your income, which in turn allows time for self-care, prioritizing your family, your health, and just general freedom. So in our world, the number one question we get is, what should I delegate? So we're going to spend a few minutes writing a few of these down. If you don't already have some paper near you, grab a notebook and a pen. All right, so I will preface this by saying that this may look a little bit different in corporate America, but this will at least give you somewhere to start. However, this exercise is critical if you're an entrepreneur. So we're going to start with this bottom left corner, incompetencies, or stuff you don't know how to do. For my business, this was stuff like accounting, designing a logo, and building a website. So many times, we as brilliant and capable humans love to figure things out for ourselves. An example of this is a couple of years ago, I was asked to submit a short video for a conference explaining what we do at Exec Wranglers. So I hopped on Canva with zero experience using their video tool. I wasted an entire day figuring out how to create a 40-second video. So, right, Jamie's laughing at me. Yeah. She's been there, done that, I think. Yeah, so just write a couple of your, it's probably a really short list because again, we're all brilliant and capable. But these are things that you almost have to delegate. You could try to figure them out, but why? All right, so let's move on to competencies. And this is stuff that you're okay at doing, but you don't enjoy doing it. And this is obviously different for everyone, but when I was an executive assistant, this was expense reports. And because I really disliked doing them, I would procrastinate and then I'd be stuck doing a bunch of them all at once at the last minute. So again, these are competencies are things that you may do well, but you don't enjoy doing it and you probably procrastinate it. All right, is everyone ready to move on? All right, so next we're going to talk about proficiencies. This is a fancy word that means stuff you're really good at. You probably really enjoy doing these things and you likely do them without thinking twice about it. For example, I love formatting documents, getting creative and making them look pretty. But do these things light me up or further my business? They do not. Your bucket of proficiencies is probably going to be a pretty big bucket. So just write a handful of them down. All right, does everyone feel comfortable moving on? Okay, great. So I call all of this stuff administrivia, which is actually a real word. I did not make it up. It's in the dictionary. And the definition is the tiresome but essential details that must be taken care of and tasks that must be performed in running an organization. If you empower someone else to do some or all of these things, you'll be able to spend more time in your zone of harmony, which in turn helps you grow your business or have a bigger impact at work. I love this quote that I found by Jessica Jackley, the co-founder of Keepa. Deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. So true. All right, so what is the zone of harmony? If you've read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, he calls it your zone of genius. I like to explain it like this. What things do you do as part of your business or job where you walk away feeling energized? What lights you up or brings you joy? What would you do for free? But please don't do it for free. Oftentimes, it's connected to your why. And if you're an entrepreneur, this is also called working on your business versus working in your business. This zone might be the smallest of the 4 zones, but it is the most important. This is also something that may evolve over time. So I would recommend, I'm happy to send you a worksheet that we have. I would recommend redoing this maybe once a quarter. All right, sounds like we've honed in on our zone of harmony. I also love this quote, and I even included on our website. The things that excite you are not random. They are connected to your purpose. Follow them. Now that you know a little bit more about what you can delegate, we can talk about the how. There are levels of delegation, and depending on who you ask, it might be 4, 5, 6, 7, or even more steps. But we're going to keep things simple and consolidate it into 4. Think of these as the pathway to empowerment, which we're going to cover a little bit more after this. The most basic level is direct instruction. This is simply telling someone what to do and how to do it. Generally, this is going to be more straightforward tasks, and you're going to have to provide all of the information they'll need to accomplish them. This could be something really simple, like just making an appointment for you. There's no empowerment at this level, but you're also building trust so that you can move to the next level, which is research and propose. Research and propose is where the person doing the work will gather information based on your request, provide you with some options along with their recommendation. I like to use the example of when I was an executive assistant and booking travel, right? The executive had to give me all of their parameters. Are they an aisle seat or a window seat? Nobody likes the middle seat, right? What are their logins for all their frequent flyer accounts? You know, all of that. When do you need to leave? Where do you need to go? All of that. And then I would come up with 2 or 3 scenarios that I thought would work best. So that's research and propose. And then once you're able to move to the next level, act and report, the person doing the work can handle it as they see fit, but they also need to keep you updated on both their progress and the completion. You'll be giving them feedback during the progress reports, which will help them prepare for the next level. So you're both learning from each other, right? How each of you works. And so in the example of the travel, at some point I got good enough and I understood enough so that I could just book the travel and say, this is when you're leaving, this is when you're coming back, kind of a thing. And finally, we have full empowerment, the just handle it level, or as I like to call it, the just wrangle it level. The person doing the work has full ownership of the project and is trusted to make all decisions necessary to complete it. This does not mean you won't have any communication with them. This is a collaboration. Schedule regular sync meetings and make sure you're consistently giving feedback. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about empowerment. Many of you naturally empower people because it's just who you are as humans. But this was an awesome illustration I found that explains it. You already know that empowering someone is not handing it to them and letting them fend for themselves or standing by watching them struggle. You'll need to open up to them, share your goals and your why, and when needed, encourage them, listen to their needs, offer advice, teach and mentor them, help them overcome any challenges, all while affirming their strengths. True leaders empower the people who work with them, and this results in an amazing collaborative environment for you and your team. So right now, think about an example of how a leader once empowered you, or how you have empowered others. And if you feel comfortable sharing, you can either bring yourself off of mute or you can type it in the chat. Does anyone have an empowerment story?
I have a little bit of a fun one.
Okay, cool.
So several years ago, I used to work at Michael's stores, and I got to assist the florist, who was like one of the best in the area. She had been there for like a couple of decades. And she kind of taught me how to make the arrangements and how she does it. Or did it. And then one of the Christmas seasons, I was able to just walk around the store and collect whichever items that I wanted, the ribbons and flowers, candles, and then they just let me go in the back and just make arrangements that they were going to sell. And so I didn't have to walk the floor, work the cash register. I just got to be in the back making little candles. So that was a lot of fun.
I love that. And you know, it took me a little while to realize that the associates there make those floral baskets and sell them. I never knew that. So that's awesome. Anyone else have an empowerment story?
I put it in the chat, but I'll speak to it a little bit.
Cool.
A while back, Stephanie approached me and said, you know, I've been working on a handbook for our contractors as a way to kind of ease our communication and make it more efficient with new hires. Would you like to help with that? And that eventually led to the creation of this role and me becoming the chief people ops wrangler here at this company. And it was all because Stephanie took something that I think was not like her number one favorite thing to do and found someone like me who really enjoys communications and gave me that task and then let it blossom into what would be the best fit for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and truth be told, a lot of this presentation was put together by Kate. So delegate, delegate, delegate. Awesome. I also have a fun empowerment story. When my son, who's now 15 years old, became old enough to start doing, you know, household chores and whatnot. He was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7. It just felt really good to teach him how to do things like his own laundry or feeding the dogs, folding towels, and eventually unloading and loading the dishwasher. But this last one was a bit of a challenge for me because if you're like me, you have your way of doing this. And it's, of course, it's the right way, right? But eventually, if I wanted the task completed, I had to let go. Me harping on him to put things the way that I would have done it wasn't helping him or empowering him. And so I let go, and the dishes still got clean without me having to do it. So the next time he complains about doing a chore, I'm just going to tell him I'm empowering him. All right.
It looks like Brad has one because I noticed he went off
Well,
mute.
I thought I'd entertain you with one that went horribly wrong because I think we learned from those, and you would think that after raising my son for 19 years, my daughter for 22, that I would have probably figured this out, but I failed recently. I had a neighbor that needed some landscaping removed from around her shed, and she wanted it replaced with something else. And she asked if my son could do it, and I said, sure. He was on Christmas break, so we plugged him in to do that. And rather than go over kind of as the project manager, since I've done that 1,000 times, I just had him go over and work with the neighbor on how she wanted it done. And she went to Lowe's and she picked up all the stuff and she brought it back. And suffice it to say, what he wound up putting there, which is exactly what she asked for, was worse than the way it was before. It was some edging that was supposed to hold some gravel and landscaping back. And she had him take out what was working pretty well, but maybe wasn't visually appealing, and replace it with some stones that she bought. But these stones were not connected in any way. And so now, you know, because they're not affixed to anything, they're all just kind of, you know, falling away. And I knew that was going to happen. And so I told her privately, hey, had I given him direction to do that, I probably would have done this, this, and this, and this is why. And she appreciated that. But the fact is, the job was already done. So rather than chop my son off at the knees and tell him that he did a poor job, or what he did was not going to be better than what was there, you know, we've just kind of let him go back to school. And I've told my neighbor that as he comes back on a weekend or something, we will get back to work and fix it. And so, you know, that's a teaching moment. And I failed in delegating it properly because I didn't supervise how it really needed to be done. And I'm the only one of the three that really knew how to do it. But, you know, I kind of gave the neighbor the opportunity to give him direction, but she really had no experience in doing it. And so the end result is he did exactly what she wanted, but what she wanted was not any better or not an improvement on what was there. So note to self, next time it has to do with something that, you know, I'm probably an expert in, I need to at least keep my finger on it until I can step away and know that they've, you know, done it successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you just jumped right to the empowerment level. Maybe
Well, I did. And I don't know if it was more me wanting to see how my son solved the problem, or not wanting to meddle in what my neighbor was trying to. She's a pretty independent and assertive person. And I thought, well, she's probably got her own ideas, but I think it was more just in deference to her than it was trusting that he could pull it off. But I don't want to insert myself and correct it even on my own, because he won't learn anything from that. So
absolutely. Awesome. All right. So now we're going to talk about the steps of delegation. So the good news is with this is that you've already completed step number 1. So the second step is document your processes. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. You're going to want to have your processes outlined or documented in some way in order to train someone else to do it. But that sounds super tedious and painful, right? I'll give you a quick pro tip. Use a screen recording tool like Loom or Berrycast to record yourself talking through a process as you do it. You're already doing these things yourself anyway, right? And you can add in commentary about how you would like it done. And then you can delegate it and they can create the written documentation and include the videos. Then moving forward, if your team member gets sick or moves on for some reason, the next person will ramp up even faster. The third step is to find someone to delegate to. If you're in corporate America, this will obviously be someone on your team. And if you're an entrepreneur, this could be a virtual assistant. Depending on how much you want to delegate, you may need a team of virtual assistants with a wide range of skill sets. The fourth important step is to let go. Documenting everything is super tedious, but letting go is sometimes the hardest part. As humans, we expect ourselves to be able to do it all, but just because we can do it all doesn't mean that we should. So right now, I invite you to write down 2 or 3 things that you could delegate today. And if you find yourself resisting letting go of that control, that's okay. We're just brainstorming and dreaming right now. But as you write these things down, let yourself feel what it would be like to have these pressures taken off of your plate. What amount of time, energy, effort, and creativity could be freed up if you were willing to delegate these tasks? And when I talk about creativity, some people go, oh yeah, I'm not creative, but you are creative. If you are an entrepreneur, you're for sure creative. And delegating gives you the space to be creative and create something maybe new in your business, create a new program. All right, does everyone have a 2 or 3? I'm not going to ask you to share them. Okay, awesome. The last piece we're going to cover is when. When should I delegate? When depends on both your readiness and your willingness. Readiness means that you have your processes documented in some way. I'm going to harp on this so that you're organized enough to train someone to do them. Excuse me. I'll reiterate what I said earlier. At some point, your inability to delegate will be a barrier to your growth. But notice how I said at some point. If you're an entrepreneur, are you going to be able to afford to hire someone when you're first starting out? Maybe not. So when you first start your business, you'll likely be handling most everything yourself. And if you are just starting out, start documenting your processes so it'll be less painful when you do finally delegate. Willingness means that you're willing to let go. It's realizing that sometimes done is better than perfect. It's being okay knowing that someone else may not do things the same way you would, but the result will be the same or better. It's being willing to empower someone else. Then there's the tipping point where you have some growth and some money coming in, and now at some point is now where you know that doing all of the things is holding you back. You'll start out by finding someone with the skills to help. Start at the first level of delegation, build some trust, move to the next level until you can take your hands off of the wheel. And then if needed, you can bring on the next person and the next. And then guess what? You have a team. Pretty cool, right? Whew, y'all, we have covered a lot. So we're going to quickly recap. We talked about why you should delegate, the detriments of not delegating, and the amazing benefits of empowering people. We also covered what you should delegate, which is everything outside of your zone of harmony. And hopefully now you have a little bit more insight into what that is. Then we talked about how to delegate, the different levels of delegation, and the importance of documenting your processes. And lastly, we dove into when to delegate, which is really the intersection of your readiness, your willingness, and the tipping point when your inability to delegate becomes a barrier to your growth. And at the end of the day, being an entrepreneur or an executive can be stressful and lonely. It is way more fun to have a team of empowered individuals to work with. Collaborating is so much more fun than doing it alone. And delegation and empowerment will provide you with the freedom you need to focus on the things that matter to you in your business and in your life. I really hope that this was helpful for everyone. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I also offer a free delegation strategy session if you really want to dig in. Anyone have any questions? Awesome.
I've got one, Stephanie.
Cool.
Part of the holdup in delegating certain things, and I'll use an example, is the kind of cost benefit of doing it. Meaning sometimes I'll have something that I'd like to delegate, but the amount of time it'll take if it's task oriented and not repeatable, or if it is repeatable, the amount of time it takes to train that person or teach that person how to do it like you want it is more time than it takes you to do it yourself, if that makes sense. And one of the things that I've had on my list forever that I'd love to kick to my Wrangler is my invoicing. And I don't have a voluminous amount, but it's, we'll call it 5 or 6 a month. And part of the reason that I haven't delegated is because the way at which I time keep is not a place where Jessica would necessarily be able to get to the same totals as I do, if that makes sense. And so I've held back on that, particularly because each one of my clients are so different that there's not a standard process for generating the invoice. Anyways, somewhere in there is embedded a question. How do you, I understand letting go, but I can't let go of an invoice or let go of a task that is so tied to revenue that there's not really any room for error. And I don't know that I have the amount of time to take to, essentially teach 5 lessons or 6 lessons, however many clients that we're talking about. So anyways, your recommendations or thoughts on that would be helpful.
Are you using some sort of a time tracking tool? Or are you
No, it's really sophisticated. It's a Google Calendar that all of my interactions with my clients are documented on that Google Calendar, which I guess somebody else could have access to. And that time over a certain time period has to be added up. And maybe that part of it is not so complicated. It might just be my mind block thinking that each one of those situations is a little different. And I just haven't dived in.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a way for you to give Jessica some visibility into how you put that time together, whether it's access to your calendar. And I would encourage you to pose this to her and say, can you think of a way for us to make this work? Whether it's, a shared Google Doc or whatever the case may be. And then, because that's a repeatable task, but it sounds like, like you're saying, each client is a little bit different.
Yeah. I think it probably starts with that conversation with her. Probably also somehow giving her access to my Google Calendar. And then I think she's going to have to set up the template that I use. That's just a Word document in some kind of a shared folder, because the intent would not be to have her send the invoices out, but rather prepare the invoices. And then, of course, I'd have to review them before they get sent out. So anyways, that's on my list. It's the result of our last conversation when I was thinking about the things that I really need to let go of. Every time I do invoices, and this is not meant to sound condescending at all, but every time I do invoices, I am reminded by how it's not a good use of my time. And I almost shame myself for continuing to do it because I know it's something I need to let go of.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna call myself out too, because I do the exact same thing. So I think that there is a little bit of a letting go, right? But it is also figuring out a process whereby you can share the information with Jessica, because that's what I struggle with as well, right? I'm saying every client has their different situation from month to month. So if there was a way that I could easily get that information to one of the wranglers, they could take over invoicing every month, or at least, like
Yeah.
you said, preparing them is what takes the longest amount of time. So yeah, and you know, our wranglers are very skilled at coming up with solutions, and you know, she might even recommend a tool that the both of you can use. Yeah, so, and Samantha says during her sync ups over Zoom, they record, oh, you record the walkthrough during your time, regular, yeah. So do you want to speak to that a little bit more, Sam?
Oh, I was going to say I am helping a couple of clients with invoicing. And so we have our regular sync up conversations about once a week. So we just kind of go over it and they're showing me how to do it during that time. And we just record it. And so I'm able to just refer back to it in the future. And so one client, for example, does have specific processes for different clients. And so it's really helpful because we are walking through each of those different unique processes.
Yeah, that's great. And if you're not already, Brad, I would encourage you to have regular weekly sync up meetings with
Yeah,
Jess.
we do. Yeah, Monday mornings at 9 a.m. Central. She's in Atlanta. So that part's checked off. But as I break down all the pieces of the invoicing, I'm realizing that I've got to get more in sync with, you know, for me to be able to do what Sam just described. You know, I've got a laptop that I'm on this Zoom call with, but I've also got a desktop that I work on. And the templates for that desktop are on, or the templates for that invoice are on my desktop and not on my laptop. The two are not networked together, so I've got to solve that. My chart of accounts for what numbers are used for invoicing numbers for various clients is in another spreadsheet. So anyways, I'm going to have to think through it on how I kind of weave all that together before I just, you know, drive a stake in the ground and say I want to do it, because it's not right now. It would be pretty ugly.
Right. Yeah, and again, I mean, a lot of our wranglers are pretty skilled at coming up with processes. So she might be able to help you if you let her know that this is what you're thinking and that you want to get everything streamlined before you offload that. She might have some suggestions for streamlining it. So awesome. Any other questions? Jamie, do you have any questions?
I wanted to know, are your wranglers project-based or hourly based? Both? If a client comes on to you, do they book as a client and then only need you for projects, but they already have like their paperwork in, or how does that work?
Sorry, say that last part again.
And so if I am an employee, but let's say I was a business owner,
Yeah.
and I, like, I'll say created an account with you, but I only needed you project based, then would I be like an account on file and then just hire out for certain projects, or?
Yeah, so it is more ongoing hourly. Yeah.
Okay.
So we do our packages of hours for our clients, and that's, you know, monthly. We have had a couple of clients use us for one-off projects, but you would prepay for a package of hours. And then the wrangler would work on whatever you needed.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kate, did you have anything to add?
Oh, I was just gonna say, even as a wrangler, this is really helpful because we work together as a team. And so we pull each other in on our projects. And a lot of times it's obvious to me if it involves making a website or video editing. Those are incompetencies of mine. So that's very easy to identify. It's going to take me all day to learn that. Let's just let someone else do it. But really looking at those competencies and proficiencies and going, how much time would I save if I shared the wealth with somebody? And we do have like insurance agents, realtors, people who are not necessarily like the head of a company, who still really get a lot of use out of our team by taking their ongoing daily stuff or their pain in the where stuff off of their plate. And so it was helpful for me just to be reminded that that we do have a team who can do pretty much everything, and maybe just start with making a loom of something I'm already doing and throw it out there and say, who would like to take this on? And so it's a good reminder for me to go through this. So thank you.
Yeah, I might offer this too, Kate and Jamie, and this is unsolicited, and Stephanie has not paid me for this proclamation. But I have learned over time using executive wranglers that my wrangler isn't necessarily an expert at everything I need. And I'll give you an example of last night. Jessica's really good at graphic design and obviously administrivia stuff, but she's not very up on updating websites, the back end of websites, which I need for clients. And so the good fortune of having a deep and wide bench at executive wranglers is your time can be applied, and how they do it, I don't know. And I guess I don't want to know, but your time can be applied to other people. So there's another wrangler named Sarah who is really good with WordPress on the back end. And I typically will copy Jessica on something on anything I need Sarah to do, just so that she can track it. But Sarah's doing the work, and it was just updating a blog last night. It was nothing big, but point is, most people are not good at everything. Everybody's got a few things they're really good at, but that shouldn't be a holdup when working with these folks because somebody on the team knows how to do it. I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that plug there, Brad. No, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how our team works. We work collaboratively, sometimes behind the scenes, most of the time behind the scenes, where the client has one point of contact or one wrangler, and then the wrangler is working in their zone of harmony and delegating, their things that they're just not either competent in or are maybe things that they don't enjoy doing. So, we help our clients work in their zone of harmony, and we also encourage our wranglers to work in theirs. So, yeah, that's exactly why I invited the wranglers to attend, and I'm going to post this in our internal, tool, and hopefully it'll help encourage some more collaboration within our team.
Stephanie, real quick, a question on that. It's not related to delegation per se, although I guess it could be. But for those of us that are customers, do we have a level of confidence that you've got some kind of whiz-bang crackerjack database in the background that tells your wranglers at a moment's notice when a client or a client asks for something and they know that they're not very good at it, where they can go and ask for that help? So, for example, I've got something on my list I just made with your suggestion that I'd like Jessica to do, but she's a designer by trade, and this involves creating a template in an Excel spreadsheet that she may or may not be good at, but if I kick that over to her, is she going to have some kind of database to go and say, oh, who's the executive wrangler expert on spreadsheets?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is related to delegation because you have to also set up a system of delegating. So that's something that I could also add to this presentation, right? Is setting up that a way of delegating. Once you've got it all documented and you want to hand something off, how do you let that person know that you need something done? And yeah, we created I mean, it's not really a shameless plug, but we use a tool called Workplace, which is a Facebook product, but it's completely separate from your personal Facebook account if you have one, or you don't even have to have one. And so it acts and looks like Facebook. So we have groups set up, and a wrangler will go to the client work proposals group and say, hey, my client needs XYZ and I don't know what I'm doing. Can anyone help? And then people will see that and respond to it. So that's how we will sometimes. And we also have, we created a tool that we're eventually going to roll out to clients where they can self-match to a wrangler, but we're using it internally so we can find out, we can search for certain skill sets to see who might be able to help with something as well. So we have multiple ways for the wranglers to find collaborators for their clients. Awesome question.
It's pretty cool. We even have somebody who writes jingles for your podcast.
Yeah, we have it, our team, our team is very talented. I'll just say that. Like, I mean, yeah, a lot of them are singers and actors and just runs the gamut. But they also have these amazing skill sets. Yeah, like writing jingles for that little opening kind of thing for your podcast, and then the intro and the outro, I think they call it. So yeah, you just never know. Jamie says she can see Samantha doing that. I don't know, Sam, is that one of your talents? No.
No, that is not. I think I would enjoy the creative process, but not officially in my talent.
Yeah, and like just along those same lines, we have wranglers that help produce podcasts for clients. So yeah, again, it runs the gamut. So
I think we have yet to be stumped. Like, I'm trying to imagine, and I can't think of a time we've been stumped. Even one time we had a client who wanted a really sophisticated formula in an Excel spreadsheet that would be, it was calculus level or higher formula. And I took it on and I researched it online. I don't have to know how the math works to plug in an Excel formula, right? But it was not working. And finally, I got an ex-boyfriend who's got an advanced degree in mathematics to come look at it. And spoiler alert, you have to put the data horizontally, not vertically. And that was the magic to it. But that was the closest I think we've ever gotten to being like, I don't know. And like, even still, we didn't get stumped. We were able to pull through.
you got it done. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is I think the main skill set that everyone has across the board is resourcefulness. So they'll figure out a way to get it done for sure. Well, this has been amazing. I want to be conscious of everyone's time. And I'm just going to put this up. Brad already knows how to get in touch with us. But Jamie, if you want to get in touch with us, there's a number of ways you could book a delegation strategy session and all that good stuff. So yeah, and I just wanted to thank everyone for your time, and reach out if you want a delegation session or if you just want to chat.
Good job, Stephanie. Thank you, and Kate.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
you.
Have a great rest of your afternoon.
You
so
too.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.